Jackson interview. I saw what it was on Twitter. It didn't seem all too favorable or supportive of Hue or his words.
No, I would say it is not too supportive. Certainly some revisionist history here, Kay, as far as my understanding of the situation. And really, this is Hue Jackson exhibiting one of the main reasons why he got fired. One of the big complaints I heard about him was just the lack of accountability, would not take responsibility for any of the woes of the football team. And if you read this article, and it's lengthy, this is a long Q&A right here, there's a lot of different points where he points to other people as far as why he was not able to be successful. This quarterback situation is certainly one of them. He talks about he absolutely wanted Carson Wentz. He can't believe that they passed on all these franchise quarterbacks. My understanding is that was not the case. He loved Goff, liked Wentz, but did not believe he was worthy of the #2 pick. That is one of the main reasons why they didn't take him. And now, of course, he goes back and says he wanted all of these quarterbacks. He also, by the way, says, Kay, that it was his idea to hire John Dorsey as the general manager. That was a new one to me. Also said he did not get to really run his offense for the first couple years, as you mentioned, because of the players. He said he was basically forced to hire an OC this year, and that is one of the reasons why the team struggled. There's a lot here, and there's a lot that I'm sure some of it is true, but maybe not 100% true. But if you were wondering why there were so many people inside the building who just didn't quite believe what Hue Jackson was saying, this is a fairly good example.
He's being criticized for lack of accountability, it sounds like, through and through. We appreciate you, Ian Rappaport. We'll talk to you throughout the morning here on Good Morning Football. Thoughts, guys, on Hue Jackson and those comments made, and even really the fact that he's out there making these comments. I feel like it's a little different as far as a fight. Recently, 48 hours, 72 hours, even a week in, fired coach.
As a coach, you can handle it a couple of ways. You can be completely honest and field the questions as they come, and you can answer them very transparently. And if you do that, you're going to have to air some people out. Or you can sit back and take the blame, like most guys. As players, we get cut, released, traded, we have bad games, and then we get microphones shoved in our face all the time. And they say, be accountable, talk about yourself, don't talk about your team. Yeah. Make sure you take the brunt of the blame, don't blame the organization. If players were to take this approach, it would be messy as hell in the NFL. Now, I don't blame you because every relationship, head coach to organization, player to organization, it's like being in a relationship with a lover. And as soon as you break up, you're scoring. And the first thing you want to do is dog your ex. That's what he's doing right now. He's dogging his ex. I will say this, though. When you're looking at relationships that don't work out, oftentimes it wasn't the other person. It was you, fam. So you were a big part of the lack of success in Cleveland, just to keep it honest.
They were 3-36-1 under Hue Jackson. It's hard to keep your job under that. But I like Hue. I've dealt with him for years. I like him. He's a good dude, and he's great with the media, and he's always been a fun interaction. That said, I look at the assistant coaches that he hired in his tenure there. He had 2 different defensive coordinators, 2 full different defensive coaching staffs, 2 different associate head coaches, 3 different quarterback coaches, 2 different special team coordinators, an offensive coordinator he brought in that's supposed to be a genius, and only 2 assistant coaches that he brought in with him in 2016 were still there when he was fired. So at some point when you have the spin the bottle and it's you 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 and it's you, at some point, yeah, and you're the head guy, it does come down to you. So I don't love the fact that he went on and did this and he's doing a media tour today, but to each his own.
Does it surprise you that he's doing that? You know him.
Yeah, I played for Hue. Hue was one of our offensive coordinators in Atlanta during the Bobby Petrino era that didn't last very long. But, I mean, we all liked Hue, and we liked Hue because he was transparent. He was easy to talk to. Right. But at the same time, it made it hard for him to be a head coach, I thought, because he was such a, think about it. He was around guys like T.O. and Chad Johnson. He really had Chad and T.J. Houshmandzadeh for the better part of their careers. And so, it takes a really good coach to deal with those guys.
It takes a player's coach to deal with those guys.
And so when you have player coaches, sometimes they aren't necessarily the best guys to run an organization. And, I mean, like you said, Peter, it was so much turnaround when it comes to coaches. In the National Football League, you have to have consistency to be able to produce a good product. So regardless what he's saying about the players he wanted, regardless, we're changing coordinators, and so the defensive players are having to learn a new scheme, same thing on offense. And so it's just really hard to be successful when you keep turning around coaches. I feel bad for Baker because I think he has a chance to be really, really good. and they're not really giving him a chance to be good because they're handcuffing him by
hitting the reset button.
He's not going to be able to fully get into that playbook and be as great as he probably would have been if even one of those guys would have stayed. I know.
They fired both, the head coach and the offensive
I feel like we saw some of this on Hard Knocks. I remember watching every episode, and we'd come in, we talk about it, and it was the him, Todd Haley, and Williams sort of dynamic, whereas they were a little more hardcore, and he was like, oh, they don't want to play, I'll put them in some bubble wrap. They don't have to practice today. They don't have to do that. So it's sort of playing to what you're telling me about the kind of coach that he was and how that would translate into him running the show.
Yeah, and I don't want to paint the picture that Hue was just big pushover. I mean, because he's not. He can be a disciplinarian at times, but I agree with D'Angelo. Sometimes when you're a player's coach, oftentimes it's hard for players to be as disciplined as they should be. And what have we seen over the last few years? With all the talent that Cleveland has, the discipline always bites them in the end, whether it's mistakes off the field or mistakes on the field that cost them games.
It's a scoreboard, Kay. They're 3-36-1.
That's exactly what it is.
More on this in a little bit. This is Good Morning Football.